I was having a really good weekend. Yeah, a really good weekend. Until I decided, what the hell? I'll pick up my remote. Let me go ahead and choose something to watch from one of these options. Did I pick something from Peacock? No. Did I pick something from Netflix? No. How about Prime Video? No, I didn't pick that. Did I choose Crackle? No. Probably because I'm not sure if Crackle is still a thing. Tubi? Definitely not. So what did I pick? Oh, yeah, Disney Plus. I went with Disney Plus. And imagine what happened next. Yeah, I switched it to Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, the movie. Why? Because I grew up on that cartoon show. It was part of the Disney afternoon lineup, okay? So I turned the movie on. Yeah, so I decided I'm gonna give Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers a chance. Foolish me, I know, because Space Jam New Legacy bombing real hard because they were trying to cram in all the cameos. I had no faith in this one, but I just went ahead and I watched Chip and Dale anyway. I even put out a Twitter post where I point out that they're trying to be Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but probably will end up like Space Jam 2. And so I turned the movie on. I gave this movie a chance. I went into it ready to hate it. And as I watched through this film, I ended up liking it. Son of a gun. Yeah, can you believe it? I liked the movie. It was a magical movie for all of us, for the whole family.
Over here.
Go get him.
This is awesome!
Chip and Dale, respectively, they didn't need to be actual actors to do the voices. It's like Alvin and the Chipmunks. It didn't need to have actual actors to do their voices because they're chipmunks. It's supposed to be sped up. But, oh no, in this film, Chip and Dale actually speak regular. And why? Of all people, why Mulany and Samberg? Oh, probably because they are both national treasures, because they're funny, because they entertain us. The two of them are such treasures that the real treasure is their friendship they made making this film, and probably the literal treasure that Disney gave them to be in the film, but they're treasures. So here's the thing about the film. This is a spoiler review, but I'll tell you when you can skip the spoiler part because I'll mark it in the chapters. I'll even tell you when to skip forward because there's a lot to unpack. There were jokes in the film that actually literally made me laugh out loud. And I don't do that. I don't laugh out loud while watching a movie by myself. That's just not how I'm built. But this film I did because they had a lot of cameos and inside jokes, but that wasn't needed to be funny. It was less of the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers TV show and more of the behind the scenes of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, the TV show. And I'll tell you, I was skeptical. I truly was skeptical. I was skeptical because I wanted to see the Rescue Rangers actually be the Rescue Rangers, but it was more of Chip and Dale. I'm not even sure why they even had the Rescue Rangers in the title, because most of it was Chip and Dale. So yes, it was less Space Jam 2 and more of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, a movie where it was still enjoyable. In fact, bit of a sneaky spoiler, Roger Rabbit does make a cameo. It's just kind of funny to imagine that Disney characters can be self-aware. Like, to me it makes sense when, say, Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck poke fun at themselves, but I never really pictured Disney doing the same thing, but they knocked it out of the park with this one. So I want to get into the spoiler stuff. So if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want me to give anything away, well then, get the hell out! But please come back because I got more to say. I would say you can go ahead and jump to about here. Okay, are they gone? Do you think they bought me as being scary? Did I scare them? Alright, I just wanted to give those people who didn't see the movie a hard time, but you and I, we're cool. So, let's discuss the film. It's always weird to see characters that you know get voiced by Hollywood actors, like big-name Hollywood actors. It kind of works in this case because they had good chemistry to bump off of each other, so I was fine with that. It was weird though that the voice of Monterey Jack was Eric Bana. It's just so random. Like, let's get the most Australian guy we can think of and make him Monterey Jack, which is fine too because Jim Cummings already provides a voice for so many characters in this film that we can have a celebrity do a voice of Monterey Jack. And after all, we still have Tress MacNeille as the voice of Gadget. It was weird that the voice of Zipper was actually Dennis Haysbert, but not as weird as Gadget and Zipper coupling up and having kids. First of all, it's just kind of a weird dynamic considering that in the cartoons, the chipmunks wanted Gadget. And it was Zipper that ended up with her. In a messed up way, in the few moments of their screen time, I actually did believe Zipper and Gadget as a legitimate couple. Like, they've actually been married with children for years and genuinely love each other. Like, I actually bought that. Speaking of voice actors, J.K. Simmons can never do any wrong. He was a great Chief Putty. And yeah, his reveal as one of the bad guys is cliche and they even kind of poke fun at it, but and yeah, just because you're making yourself aware and pointing fingers at yourself, it's still cliche regardless, right? It's kind of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where the plot didn't have to be too intricate. It just needed to be a different approach to what we've already known. Thing that really kind of shocked me, though, was Peter Pan being the bad guy. Now, in storytelling mythology, yes, I am one of the people that would believe Peter Pan is a bad guy because, well, if you really want to get dark, there are like deep cut theories of Peter Pan that he's always a boy because he actually died as a kid and he collects children to take them to heaven. That's one theory. Another theory is the Lost Boys are always boys because when they start growing up, Peter actually kills them and replaces them. And we've seen Peter Pan be bad before in the ABC show Once Upon a Time, which is also owned by Disney, where even in that show, Peter's a bad guy. But it's just weird that in this movie, they took the trademark character of Peter Pan that they've been making money on for decades and just straight up call him a bad guy. Yeah, the moment you hear Will Arnett do a voice of a character, you just have to assume that character is going to be a bad guy. But I actually loved the plot. I loved the plot that all these iconic characters are being kidnapped so they can be physically altered and be sold as bootleg characters. That's actually just kind of genius, really. Yeah, so with the plot being that these characters are getting captured, including Monterey Jack, and it requires Chip and Dale to reunite to find him. It's another reason why it shouldn't have been called Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, because it's, again, more Chip and Dale and less Rescue Rangers. Now let's go back to the cameos. The cameos were great because it had He-Man and Skeletor. Skeletor being voiced by the original voice actor, Alan Oppenheimer. Yeah, I'm a fan of Masters of the Universe, so I was happy to see He-Man and Skeletor. And that was another shock with this movie, because it's very much like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. See, in Space Jam 2, it was all Warner Brothers characters. But in this movie, they actually had cameos from non-Disney characters. They had references to Foghorn Leghorn. They even had Randy Marsh in one scene. And in the background, you see a vote for Senator Butthead from Beavis and Butthead as well. This movie was actually pretty wild. I really laughed out loud on so many parts. Oh, and when they showed the introduction of young Dale and young Chip forming their friendship over the years, I actually loved the Tenacious D Friendship is Rare song being played. And final thought is I actually liked that the main street, kind of like the main street in Disney World, is actually this whole underground crime syndicate. An adorable girl actually is in charge of Muppet fighting. I loved the cameos from Marvel's Tigra, which, alright, and also a cameo from Ugly Sonic. Yes, they actually did something with the messed up original design of Sonic and made him a character, voiced by Tim Robinson. I didn't care for him too much in Saturday Night Live as one of the actors, but he's a good writer, and he can be funny on his own. And that's Tim Robinson, not Tim Robbins, Tim Robinson. Seth Rogen as one of the henchmen. They were making fun of the whole Polar Express CGI from the early 2000s. But it was actually a funny moment when he actually came across other characters that had been previously voiced by Seth Rogen, including Pumbaa from the terrible Lion King remake. Alright, so I can't say everything was perfect. I do have a couple notes that I did not care for. If I was to complain about something, it's very nitpicky, but I would say sizes were inconsistent with the chipmunks. Like the pogs. Dale needing to complete the last piece of the pog. Is it me, or did you notice that the pog wasn't always the same size and scale with the chipmunks? Maybe it's just something I missed. It just didn't seem right. And they make fun of it and they make light jabs at themselves for doing it, calling it out for trying to be an old cartoon, trying to appeal to today's generation in a sad, pathetic way, but they still rapped. They still made their hit song poppy. It just was not fun. Like, stop it with the rapping characters. Even people who enjoy rap would not even appreciate that, so let's just stop. This is kind of more of a nostalgia whine, but it was a little disappointing to see Dale having the surgery to get the CG, but in the context of what's going on in cinema and what's going on in life, that actually makes sense. So I'll let that go. The other nitpick I have is if we're going to do like a whole origin story of how Chip and Dale met, and we acknowledge things to exist in the world as a TV show or film, then why didn't we recognize Donald Duck? There was no Donald Duck. I mean, in the classic cartoons of Donald Duck, Chip and Dale were the ones antagonizing him. So I'm just not sure why they didn't really slip that in there somehow, or have Donald Duck interact with them. And finally, my other complaint, and it's kind of a stupid complaint, but it's a complaint regardless, is having a human friend. Yeah, a lot of these animated movies seem to want to do that. They gotta have like a new character that's human, and it's supposed to be, I guess, like the audience avatar for us, but in this film, that's not needed because we can already relate through Chip and Dale. I'm talking about Kiki Lane, who played Elle Whitfield. I mean, there was nothing wrong with her character. It's just, I guess if they needed some kind of conduit to the police force, yeah, let her be it. After all, in the pilot miniseries of Chip and Dale, they actually had a police dog that was their friend. So, yeah, it kind of works out, I guess. It's just they really used her as more of a, well, they used her as the avatar so they can give backstories. That's not uncommon for those type of movies. We had that in Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, the movie, and we had that a couple times in the Tom and Jerry movies, in the 1990s Tom and Jerry movie, and even in the new Tom and Jerry movie. And we even had it in the Sonic movie as well. But you know what? I am grateful that they kept it subtle. They kept the human and fictional characters' relationship subtle, just like, sorry to keep going back to this, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It could have gone worse. It could have gone in the route of the Tom and Jerry movie that came out last summer, where it became more of a human story with the fictional characters in the background. Here, it was the other way around, so that's what made it fine. Anyway, let's just cut the spoiler stuff here. I enjoyed it.
The Rescue Rangers!
Boo hiss! We want Darkwing! We want
But let's bring in our friends who have not seen the movie and just kind of wrap this whole thing up, shall we? Okay, let me go ahead and get my angry face back on. All right, here we go. So imagine my damn surprise with this film. Oh, hi. I'm sorry. Welcome back. We're going to wrap this up because you haven't seen the movie and I know you skipped ahead to this. So let's just get on with it. Damn this film. Damn it so much for making me like it. I wanted to hate it. I wanted to hate it so much. I wasn't even going to discuss this film. I had an Anthonix Maximus reviews episode coming out. As you can tell, I still have the hints around about what that'll be. But no, after seeing this movie, I needed to hop on and talk about it because this damn movie was funny. The characters were all serviceable. It didn't take itself too seriously with the material that it had, but it took itself seriously with the story that it had. And that's what made it good. And the jokes were actually funny. Like sometimes when you have big name celebrities that are normally comedians, when they go into a movie, you can just tell they're just reading the jokes off of a paper, off of a script. But here, it actually felt like John Mulany and Andy Samberg actually had their hands in on the script as well. And that is why the film deserves to be highly praised. It's actually great on the jokes. The plot is sort of simple, but genius for taking it in a direction because of the material they're working with. And it actually had heart. In fact, the movie was so good. How dare they make me sit at home? I had to watch it on my 55-inch TV. Ugh! I should have watched it on a bigger screen. It deserved to have been theatrical, or at very least be treated like any other Marvel movie where you have to pay extra to watch it. But no, it just dropped. But you can't surprise me with that. You can't give me a movie that's free and expect me to think it's gonna be good. No one would think that. Unless it's something from HBO Max like I don't know, Zack Snyder's Justice League. But even then, that should have been theatrical, but I wouldn't have sat there for 4 hours. I'm getting away from the point. I would rate this movie an 8 out of 10. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'm Anthonix Maximus. This is Anthonix Maximus Matinee. Please like and subscribe. Stick around because not too much longer from now, you'll be getting a new episode of Anthonix Maximus Reviews. Now I'm going to go ahead and watch something from Crackle. I can't even say that seriously. Good night.
I was always more of an Alvin and the Chipmunks person.
You monster.
That my best friend, she a real bad, got her own money.
It was like professional.
Same time.